Ambience, others place, frontal. With more traffic,
we are living with all these sounds in the midst of all these trees, in the midst of all these insects, in the midst of all the rains and shine, so many things. If you don't, they have a very important role in our life, and we should make use of it. So we are not using that. We are living with so many sounds in real life, but we are not giving attention to these details. Normally in regular films that you see, in the films you hear only two sounds. One is dialogue, the other background score, each competing with the other. So I use background score very sparingly. In fact, in one film I did not use background score at all, because there was no need to use background score, because there were so many other natural sounds. So if you listen to sounds, you hear the crow crowing, right? But the crow crows differently at different times of the day. After a full meal, he will produce different sound. When he sees food, he would want to call all the other crows. So that will be another way of sensing. I have even heard a crow trying to sing like a quail. It's possible, we underestimate their faculties. They are extremely intelligent beings. So each sound, each bird sound, each sound of the crickets and etc. So many things can suggest many things. So when you hear the cricket sound, immediately I can say whether that is a marshy place or a dry place. So this sound will immediately suggest. You don't have to say this place is marshy in dialogue. It is there.
You and John both in campus principal sometime. You and John
No, he was 2 years younger to me. Actually, when I was in the final year class, he came and joined the Film Institute. John was working in an office, I think LIC or somewhere in Kumbakonam in Tamil Nadu. Then he left the job and joined the institute. Because Ritik Ghatak was already there. He had joined the previous year as vice principal and professor of direction. Ghatak was a great focus of veneration at the institute at that time, because he was very different from everybody else, and I think some of the students were very close to him. They moved very close to him, and naturally John was one of them. And I believe Ritik Ghatak liked him a lot, and of course John did not start drinking after joining the institute. He used to drink even before, so it was not from Ghatak that he learned it. But John had brilliant ideas, brilliant thoughts about making films. But very often his classmates and other friends say the problem was when it came to be realized, the big ideas, then he became suddenly, diffident about it. So he took to drinking. This is what they say. That's a very rational theorization, but then it's okay. I think it has some meaning, I think, because filmmaking is such a demanding job, unlike what people think today. Whoever has a video camera can make a film, that is the approach today. But it was not so until very recently, because whatever you shoot, you are not sure about what you shot until the film is taken to a processing lab, and processed and printed, and unless you see it in a projection room, you do not know really whether what you had shot is there on the film. Today you can run it back and then see whatever is there. So that situation was different in those days. So it was a very, very demanding job, and Cuttack is known to have taken to drinking. This is what I heard at the institute while I was there. When some of his films failed at the box office, or some producers wanted him to extend the length of the film, because to have it run in a cinema house, it had to be of a certain duration. So on one of those occasions he started drinking, because he had cut it to his conviction and belief, and then somebody else says that now extend it by so many minutes. So that is really quite a tiring job. And they say that he became a drunkard at that time. So whatever it is, but I never seen him in the classroom. Never ever seen him in the classrooms drunk. Never. He never came to the classes drunk. And he was a great teacher. So these good qualities John might have imbibed from him. So many of us were highly inspired by Cuttack, because he was an all-rounder. He was a very well-read person, a scholar, an excellent understanding about music. Like Ray, he could also compose music, and very unconventional kind of music you should compose, and all that. So all this sudden burst of creativity inside the campus would definitely have inspired John Abraham. John Abraham, if you look at his films, they are not like Cuttack's films, but then they are also very disorganized. You find them wanting in many sales, and it requires. Sometimes you feel that it needs to be edited, it needs to be improved upon, etc. But all the same, his films had a character. The last film he shot was Amma Ariyan. That also had a history about it, because for the first time, at least in India, a mass movement was there to collect money from the people. A lot of admirers of John were gathered around him, and then because of his charisma he would keep them together, and then they went on shooting the film, and they hardly had any money, but then they managed to shoot. And fortunately for John, at that time P. Bhaskaran was the chairman of the Film Development Corporation. He was very kind and helping, so he would give them credit, equipment on credit and things like that. Even when the film was completed, it was not taken to a cinema for the screening, because no distributor would ever touch it. So what they did was, this Odisha group themselves took it to different towns and organized screenings. They collected money from the people who came to see the film, and every day they would collect cash in change and all that, and that small cloth bags of money would be taken to the Film Development Corporation and remitted there. So that was a very ideal way of making film. But once John was gone, once this film was made, there have been several attempts even on their part to make a film. It did not work, because there was no John to keep them together. So John had that kind of charisma, and he had contacts with practically everybody in the field of arts, literature. So that is one big difference between other filmmakers and John. So John had friends amongst very interesting writers, very interesting artists, very interesting playwrights and all that. So his influence and the awareness of what he did was quite widespread in that sense.
Even go back to him. You still
Khatak.
his
Not about John, about Khatak.
little bit.
Aha. Being a Bengali, you are interested in Khatak. Yesterday also I talked to a Bengali. No, Khatak, unlike what is popularly believed, Khatak had a lot of respect for Satyajit Ray. And Ray also had a lot of love and respect for Khatak. So it was very normal and usual that he would screen a film of his and then explain why he did that, why he did it in a particular way, etc. And those were great lessons. And also, I remember at least sometimes he showed passages from Ray's films and tell us, and here is great cinema. So there is this wrong notion that they were enemies. And when Khatak died in a hospital in Calcutta, Ray only told me he went to the hospital and there were some young boys outside, and then they just pointed their finger at him and said, "You killed Khatak." This is the most uncharitable comment to make on Ray. He said, "I was so unhappy, so worried that these young boys were completely misguided. That is the truth. There is no reason why they should hate each other or don't. They have to be enemies. There is no reason. In fact, people in between, they create these stories. This happens. John was a good friend. He used to visit me, and I used to encourage him to make films, etc. Always did that. In fact, there was a retrospective of Indian films in the city of Pesaro. Pesaro, they are well known for the important retrospectives. So there was this retrospective of new Indian cinema. We were all there, So there was a point at that time. I was in Delhi at that time. At the festival directorate, they were almost deciding that they don't want to take John with us because John would create problems. And Mani Kaul was there, Kumar Saini was there, and Shyam, and so many others were there. Most of the filmmakers were there. So I heard this and I said, no, it's not like that. I take charge of him. Don't worry about that part. So I insisted, and then finally it was decided. And we were boarding the flight in Bombay after a few days. And I was sitting in the lounge, and I had just checked in, and I was sitting in the lounge. And then I saw John. I did not see him going in, but then I saw him coming out without entering the customs because he was stopped. So I saw him coming back, absolutely very disappointed and all that. He looked very worried, and I just came out of the room where I was sitting, and I asked John, what happened? He said, they won't let me go. I said, what happened? So they have put a seal on his passport. It was the first time he was going abroad. That airport, this clearance required, for passengers. I pretended to be someone of real authority and all that. I went to the customs officer and said, okay, how can you do this? He's a great filmmaker and he is representing the government of India. How can you send him back? If there is a wrong seal, you correct it. You put another seal. I am vouching for him, etc. Somehow, luckily, he was convinced. So he changed the seal and put a seal. So I took John along. That's how we went to Pesaro, Italy. In Italy, it was very interesting because it was quite cold, and I said, John, I have warm clothes. And he said, no, I don't want anything. And he put one shirt over the other. And he wouldn't sleep in the night. He will wander around the town in the nights. and people will, he made many friends. And there were some places where attached to these restaurants in the front courtyard, they have these extensions, where they play bands. So John has some idea of music, so he will also go and sit with them, and then and they were, after a couple of days, they were very interested in him because he was a regular, enjoying with them. So after the band, they will all drink together. Yeah. So next day, while walking by that side, John would tell me, last night I had drinks here with the band. So when we were checking into the hotel, so the director of the festival, later he became director of the Venice Festival, Marco Muller. He told us, so whenever you feel like having a drink, there is a bar there in very, very passage of the hotel. You can drink here and you don't have to pay. So John overheard this. He wouldn't leave the bar. So after 2-3 days, Manikaul came to me and said, Adur, there is a problem. The bar people have an accounting problem. I said, what is this? Then I called John and said, John, this is a problem. And he never again stepped into that bar. Never again. Never again. And by that time, he had gathered so many friends. Italy is full of very young boys who are enthusiastic about cinema. And then John became a great friend with them. So John somehow understood, if you are very committed to your work, and if you do good work, there is a world outside who would appreciate your work. And John was very enthused. That was the time when this film Amma Ariyan was being planned for shooting. So I told him, you make a good film, you see, you can travel anywhere in the world, there will be people watching. So, okay, then we finished the festival. Then I took, because I have been to Rome several times. I am almost a veteran in Rome. From 69 onwards, I have been traveling and on my own and seeing things. So I said, now that you are a Christian and you are in Rome, should you not visit Vatican? He said, yes. So I did something. I asked the director. I said, I need a car, because anyway the car will come to drop us at the airport. Even in the evening is the flight. So I need a car because I want to show my friend. And by that time somebody else also joined us. They wanted to join us. I said, okay. So we took that car. It was very cozy travel around, and we saw many things, and I took him to Vatican. Vatican was absolutely aghast, with the kind of atmosphere, Sistine Chapel and things like that, that just really, he was flown over, in fact. So he was very happy and very, very fulfilled. So in the night we went to the airport. While we were waiting, one of my friends gave $2 to change, so to buy a drink or something. They went and changed. They gave change for $200. He gave $2, and they gave change for $200. So he came back saying that I have so much money now. What will you do? So the friend, she said, that's a lady. She has been working with the Channel 4 in London. She's still there. She said, John, they are stinging with money. Don't give it back. Let us buy drinks. So he went and bought drinks for all that. And there were others also sitting in the lounge waiting for flights. So he distributed it amongst everybody. Very interesting memories of that period. But then from that time onwards, he knew that I sincerely support him, and I want him to be doing something. So at every stage of its making, of the making of this film, he used to telephone me, and he stopped ringing for a long period, and he used to call me at every stage, and I have finished so far, I did the editing, I'm going to do the dubbing, etc. Like that we had done, kept me posted about all the progress. So I was very happy. At least with this one trip, this great changes happened in this man. And one day, one of his great and famous drunkards of the town went to his room and dragged him out, and that was the end of it. Then he started his drinking spree again. In that spree only he went to Calicut. He would drink with unknown people, it may not be familiar people, young people, whoever offers him a drink, he will join them. So in that, what happened we don't know, but he fell off a unfinished building, and then the most unfortunate part was that while in the hospital there were many doctors who were his friends in Calicut. None of them were there, nor any of his friends who was with him would go and tell them this man is really in bad shape. Nothing happened. Until the morning, nobody even cared. He died like that, unrecognized. And in the morning, somebody went, and these people who were with him also were very drunk. So they were not in a shape to go and tell somebody, John sent them particularly a particular doctor, and then this man never reached him. So anyway, that story ends there. We don't know what happened. That was very unfortunate. But Amma Ariyan has a scene in the film where an unidentified body is kept in the morgue, and then it is pulled out, and then they look at it. It's almost like the repetition of that story. So it was very, very sad that he had to die like that.
മനസ്സിലായോ?
I went for his funeral. He was brought down from Calicut to Kottayam. It's in an island in the Vembanad lake called Kainagari, where that is his parish area. I was there for the funeral. A lot of friends were there. So John, there are many drunkards who come to you for money, saying that I am John's disciple. I said, I have nothing to do with disciples. Only if John is there, I will treat him, not you. I have nothing to do with disciples.
ഞാൻ ഒരു പ്രതിഭാസമല്ല. അല്ല അല്ല അല്ല.
No, actually he is coming from an area called Kuttanad. Actually he is from upper Kuttanad, I think. That area has a long history of workers' movements and all that. Of people who have dug out, they have built new islands, small islands for cultivating, etc. So the saga of raising land out of the water, cultivating it there, engaging the workforce, having problems with them, with the change of political atmosphere, etc. All these will have had an effect on him, definitely. So Cheriyachinte Kroorakrityangal is based on such a subject, where he thinks he has committed some cruel acts, and he is terribly afraid of facing the world. That was the story. But they are all very, and a story. There is a film called Amma Ariyan. His last film. In last film Amma Ariyan, it starts with a letter being written to his mother, whose cemetery is seen. Amma is not there, but then the letter is addressed to the mother. Like that, there is something very unconventional about all this. I think John's mother died very early, and he doesn't have any proper memory of his mother. That's my feeling. So it is addressed to a mother whom he has not really known, or not really had the luck to be fondled and all that. Quite possible.
Sir, it's, I think Ritik said about this cooperative. He attempt cooperative filmmaking in Nagarik, but John finally able to do it in '86 with Amma. So, what is he thinking about this distribution and exhibition?
No, actually, we did it much earlier. 1965, we started the first cooperative in India, and Swayamvaram and Kodiyattam were made under this cooperative. Then the cooperative was disbanded, of course. It is no more functioning. So that was the first ever cooperative. But John's this Odisha movies was not a cooperative. It's a combine of many people, personal. That's all. It's not a formal organization at all. There are people who loved him, respected him. They wanted him to make a film. So they were the people.
You started first film society in Kerala.
Yes.
Chitralekha.
Yes.
And
In those days, the only opportunity to see better kind of cinema was to join a film society and see these films. Today in Kerala itself, we have several film festivals. There is a big one in Trivandrum, and there are other smaller festivals in different parts of Kerala. And more than the film societies, now it is fashionable to run a festival. So it has come into vogue now. Film societies screenings, you find few people going, whereas you run a festival, you find you attract more people.
and Swayamvaram in 1972, we call it Indian New Wave.
There is nothing like, there is no formula. What is important about being new is that you keep on renewing what is there. You cannot hold on to one formula of a period and then keep making films like that. It's nothing like that. That will be disastrous if you do that. So you have to keep developing, keep growing in terms of your craft, in terms of what you want to say and how you say that, etc. So it's an ongoing process. You cannot expect a whole movement to be sustained through years.
But there is even this medium is more cheaper. You can make a film little
Without
money.
thinking, you mean?
No,
What do you
little
mean?
bit money. Can do that.
That's what happens now.
So
Because they used to think twice, thrice, 4 times before taking a shot. Now they don't think at all. They just shoot.
But it
Because
also-
the medium is cheap.
it also can.
Their
help
most
the
difficult.
independent,
Their most difficult job is at the editing stage. They don't know what to cut out.
and, no, it can be some. It can help also independent filmmakers and experimental filmmakers to express them.
Actually, in my concept, filmmaking is the culmination of understanding and mastery of all other arts. It just doesn't come independently. The most important thing is not a video camera. That's only a recording machine. What will you put on that film? That's very important. That comes from your culture, what you have, your understanding of so many things of life ultimately. And you have to have something to say, and what novel way will you express it? All these are very important. Not just shooting anything. You can shoot anything. There will be interesting things. Even if you don't think, you go and shoot something on the, keep it on the main street, and then you will have recorded something interesting. There will be people in it who would be interesting to look at. You can call it cinema verite, because that is the real cinema they can think. So things as possible. But cinema verite was just a very interesting term and a concept that also had a very important contribution to make, because it was a certain questioning of the very artificial structures and postures and things like that. You need to ease up, and that is what is happening.
So if you go back to 55, and after Pathakajali there was a certain trend of neo-realistic filmmaking. They give certain trace on reality. But when you think about John's story, his film and your film also, I think it's not very realistic.
Actually we are not concerned with the reality on the surface. That's where you have to delve deep into life, and that's where you have something to say to the audience, where they wouldn't get it from the surface. So here you use the visuals, the story, the sounds, everything to get the audience beyond what is superficial. That is a big difference. They are real in the real sense, but it's not a naturalistic reality. It's different. That's real realism. Even Ray, I don't believe he was doing neo-realistic films. This was a very wrong term, because although he liked this Bicycle Thieves and he was inspired by that, our situation in India was not comparable to neo-realistic situation in Italy after the war. So he is not talking about a war-ravaged India. He is talking about a quiet, very beautiful, very dignified life of the rural folk. People may think it is about the poor people, but then so what? Poverty has a dignity, as long as they don't cry over it. They withstand it, they fight it. It's a struggle for life. There is a beauty about it. So in that sense, I wouldn't call race films as neo-realistic. They are not neo-realistic. It may be the inspiration came from the neo-realistic films, but not his films. I always thought they were romantically realistic, because there was always a very very beautiful romantic aspect to his work. Very likable about it. Something very elevating.
Sir, all of your films there is certain political tone. They're political actually. So do you think through this process film can increase the political awareness of the people, political awareness of the viewer?
See, when you are talking about Kerala, honestly, politics has a very important role in our lives. Whether it is a negative role or a positive role, we cannot deny that. So, when you are dealing with truth, when you are dealing with, in fact, all of my films are a certain social record of the times that is being portrayed. So there is nothing untrue in it. So they are very faithful in that. That is at one level. So necessarily you have to have politics in it as one of the components.
I also found this something black humorous. You want to ridicule this?
There is black humor. Yes, black humor is there because he it's at that point where this man realizes in Kathapurusan that the most the most revolutionary parties also, when they come to power, they develop such mechanism around themselves to sustain the status quo. So they become oppressive in that act, in that effort. So that's why he laughs a lot, because he has spent his life, his career, everything for this party, and he has suffered for that. And finally he finds that for a simple thing like writing a book, an autobiographical book, that this party feels very threatened and they have to ban it. That's what happens. So he, in a way, he feels liberated. He comes out of that real bondage. A certain, you are obliged to remain within the frame, etc. He comes out of that. That's how he even stops stammering.
From where you start? What is the basic idea from incident or something like that, from your personal experience? What is the basic point from where you starting?
We have already talked about John Abraham.
Little bit.
Yes.
Just
Yes.
from where you start and how
These
you
are
culminate this idea.
These are difficult to say, because sometimes an idea occurs to you from nowhere. Sometimes a thought keeps bothering you for a long time, and they finally take shape. It becomes because when it has a potential to be developed into a story and a script, then I take it up. And it has to be an idea which is worthwhile to share with the others. More importantly, I have to be excited about doing it. That's very important. If I have even the faintest doubt that I already done this before, then I am not interested in it. However good the idea is, because I don't want to repeat myself. It's very boring. Why do a thing again? Once you have done it, maybe you have succeeded it in some way, but why repeat it? So in some way, I wouldn't call it they are all experimental, but they are all different from the other, because for two reasons they have been different. Because I allow a lot of time between the films, because I don't go from one film to the other.
Ambience, Adur's place.
It's a different kind. Because I have made films only on things I have lived through. I have not done any film which I have no first-hand experience about. Some films start early in the 40s and end in the middle of the 80s, like that. Kadavarshan is like that. So you cannot say it's a period film. Swayamvaram is very much in today's time. It was done in the 70s. It shows Trivandrum in the 70s. Kodiyattam is almost it can belong to any period. It is not either in the past or in the present. It can be even in the future. So all these films are, none of them is a period film.
Sir, is there any new filmmakers you are interested in his work?
Whose work I have liked.
Yeah.
I think the most recent filmmaker I have found very promising is Vipin Vijay. Any bad film will reach the people. Today, any good film it will be difficult for it to reach the people. That is the situation. Look at television, they never show a good film. In Kerala, we have 19 channels. Not one channel shows even a good documentary, let alone feature film. They don't even show a half-an-hour documentary. They don't show a 20 minutes documentary. They don't show any worthwhile film made in the language. Never. Not other languages also. Doordarshan is the only place where we insist it should be shown, because it's the only public channel. So we have recently made so much pressure, brought so much pressure on the CEO, Mr. Jawar Sarkar, and the DG, Mr. Tivarari Sharan, to start a new slot in Doordarshan called the Best of Indian Cinema, that they have very recently approved. So I think shortly they will start screening films in that slot. At least some way of showing these films to the public in all over the country, they can watch it. So they should properly advertise it and let people know that this is happening in Doordarshan, because Doordarshan is otherwise showing a lot of rubbish. So they think only commercial films can bring money to them. Everybody thinks, not only themselves.
Sir,
This is a tragedy. It's in the hands of people. Virtually it is controlled by these advertising agencies. They decide this film, what kind of film to show. They even advance money for the productions. This with certain stars they advance 4 crores, 6 crores, like that. So if you have the contract of a star, and then if you have all the trappings, regular trappings, it's not difficult for you to make films. Your life will be very pleasant. So will there be.
like getting back to John, he was adamant about his film reaching to people, like to everyone, each and every people.
No, he never.
So he was
None of those films were seen by the people,
So he was concerned
except
about
only Amma Ariyan, because they made it like this. They took it around and shown. I don't think anybody has seen the other films.
Okay, but his thought was like
John-
this, right? He
John-
wanted it to reach people.
But then no other film has been shown.
Amarian was quite successful.
Yes, Amma Ariyan was shown because they also wanted to collect money from the people. So that was a good attempt, which is unprecedented for the first time, and it did work very well.
Similarly, have you also thought of any such attempts like?
No, we have our 2 films were produced by the cooperative, and they were also distributed by us, and both of them made a lot of money. They were distributed not through other channels; they were distributed through regular cinema houses. The theatres in both cases refused to show these
That was
films
before Amarian.
long before. Amma Aryan came much later. This was in 72 and 77. Amma Aryan in 86, long later.
But after that, no such attempts.
No, it's difficult. That's what I was saying. It is difficult.
Have you ever thought of something?
No. I don't want to take a parallel route and then show to people directly and all that. I won't be able to do that because my attempt is always to show my films in the regular cinemas. That I have succeeded with every film. Some films were very successful at the box office. Some films were not. Today it has become more difficult because of this wide release of commercial films. Almost every cinema is occupied with this or that release. So there is hardly any space for other films. It has become more difficult now.
So you have certain theatrical background, and sir, I think there is John wrote a street play, Nayakali. Can you say something about?
I have not seen it.
He staged it in Fort Kochi.
Yes. He was just moving around all over Kerala because so he had friends everywhere. That's how he became himself a movement, It's almost like Christ, who just never stopped. There is a famous novel called Christ Stopped at Eboli. Eboli is a very poor town in Italy. There is this novel, and based on that, there is a film also made. I think Rossi made a film, Francesco Rossi. So Christ was very angry with the existing system. So he made the Pasolini's film is very evident in the Gospel account in the Saint Matthew. There he never stops. He's angry. He's on the move all the time. Very angry man. So John was not very angry, but then he was always on the move. he will have his smile and very endearing smile, and people liked him a lot. Even when he wants some money for a drink, he will ask you just that much money, not 1 rupee extra. if for a drink he has to spend 5 rupees, he will ask for only 5 rupees. Like that. I did not like it much because I used to like Khatak's work a lot, but the last 2 films I did not like much. Because people do theorize it, but then I don't believe in theorizing films. Some people may do that, let them do it. My approach is not it's not theoretical. In 1972, my Swayamvaram, when it was first released, it stopped running in most of the cinemas after 1 week. So in the very few cinemas ran it for the second week, so it was withdrawn. Then after a few months, the National Awards came. Because this was the first time all the major awards were given to one film. Because normally a national award is given and that's all about it. The other awards will go to other films. But in this case, the best film, best director, best camera work, best actress, everything went to this film. So that made a big, huge news here, in the print media particularly. So everybody wanted to see it. So since we were distributing the film ourselves, we approached the same cinemas to re-release it. And you wouldn't believe it, every show was houseful. Every show was houseful. In 2 weeks' time, we got the investment and the returns, and the huge profits it brought. Again, the second film, when it was finished, nobody wanted to touch it because the Gobi was the hero. So this was the first time ever somebody who is a bald-headed man, who is past his middle age, is cast as the hero. So many of the managers, theatre managers said, who would look at this man's face and go to see your film?
And I think you're from before joining Film Institute, you're the theatre.
Yes.
So, sir, what about the performance of it?
Now, after passing out of the institute, I did only one play. That was in '74. After Swayamvaram, I did a play called, this was a translation of Waiting for Godot. So I did a production here. So three of the actors whom I handled in that play later came to act in my films. One of them was Gobi, one of them was P.K. Vanakuttanayar, one was E.C. Soman, like that. So that, because my experience of having handled artists on the stage helps me in my cinema's work. Even with experienced actors or absolutely novice people, you have to have a certain understanding of acting.
You completed your postgraduate diploma in 1965.
Yes.
So you and John both.
What is it, right?
So, yeah,